G'day guys, it's Scott Alexander King here from Animal Dreaming. I just thought today I would show you how to make a set of these. These are prayer flags. Well, my version of prayer flags. Prayer flags are traditionally seen in the Himalayas. I'm sure you've all seen pictures of prayer flags billowing along in the breeze, on the wind, along the paths that lead through those really high mountain peaks. They stretch for miles. And the story traditionally is that the mantras or the prayers that are written or printed on the flags are not particularly for any particular person or specifically for any particular person's healing or good intentions. It's more for the people. So they believe that when they tie their flags and let the wind blow them, they're blowing blessings and of thanksgiving and tranquility and peace and harmony across the land for everyone to enjoy. So when you tie prayer flags, it's not just for your own well-being, but for everyone else. But in today's world, of course, we've become so detached from everyone else and we've become so isolated, and in order for us to find our way back, we have to sort of start taking some responsibility for our own journey. And it's for that reason that a lot of people now today hang prayer flags as a way of welcoming peace into their own home, or to bring good blessings and good tidings into their own home. And that's from that angle that I'm thinking of doing this workshop with you today. So imagine all these little flags here with a prayer written on them, or a symbol or such thing that indicates to the spirits what it is that you're seeking. And what if each of these different colours means something specific? So anyway, I just thought I would introduce you to this idea of this workshop, and then I'll start now to show you how to make a set of these for your very own self. G'day guys, I'm back. So as promised in the intro, I'm going to now show you how to make your own set of prayer flags. I've got some different pieces here, fabric here, which I'll explain in a minute. As you can see, I've got a good lot of them there to make more. I've got my twines, and I've got a pen, and I've got scissors. So just know that it's very simple to make prayer flags, but I thought it would be cool to talk to you about this idea. I saw someone once had made prayer flags out of leaves. Now where we live here in the northern rivers of New South Wales, it's subtropical, so we don't really have that much opportunity to have autumn leaves. Our trees mostly are deciduous, evergreen. We don't really have deciduous trees where we live. So these ones were ones that came up with the kids when we moved up here from Victoria, and these were from a tree that was growing in our front garden at the time. The kids back then when they were little, they called them star trees because they look like stars, and I think that was the reference from Land Before Time or something like that. So it holds emotional meaning for us. So the idea is that, and what I saw someone do, theirs were fresh, theirs were reds and greens and all sorts of different colours. They literally wrote their prayers on the leaf and then strung them together in a long strand just by simply tying the ends, with the string, tying the ends onto the string. Anyway, so that's such a cool idea, I had to share it. I don't want to use these leaves for that purpose because they've got emotional significance to us, and I just don't want to change them from being perfect as they are. But I just thought, it's a cool idea, and why not share that with you? So I'll just pop those over there. So these are the fabric squares that I've chosen. Each of these colours means something to me, and in Animal Dreaming there's significance in all things. So before I start talking about how to string them together or the best way to actually create your prayer flags, I thought what I'd do is I'd go through each of the colours and talk about them in turn. In my world, everything basically rotates around the natural world, I guess. So, and the seasons, the changing of the seasons and the changing of, the day into night and all those, it all holds great significance. So if I'm going to use colours, I'm going to look at the significance of the four directions and the elements and the seasons and all those sorts of things. So here where we live, we're not far inland from Byron Bay, And Byron Bay is essentially, or the lighthouse, that point that reaches out into the ocean, is essentially the easternmost point of Australia. So that's where the sun hits Australia first. The land of first light is what it's known as. It's quite beautiful. So you can stand there and watch the sun come up, and the sun will hit you before it hits anyone else in the whole of Australia. So if you think about the sun rising, and you think about what that represents, you think about new beginnings, you think about a new dawn, a new day, brand new ideas ready to be embraced, all those sorts of things. I associate that with the colour yellow. Also, the same energy could be said for the season spring, which is the time of new babies and new children, baby animals being born, plants growing, the seeds coming up, new children, new babies in your life, all those sorts of things. It's all significant of new beginnings. So that's, to me, the colour of the sun rising in the morning, yellow. Okay, so if I'm going to write a prayer on this, it'd be for new beginnings, it'd be for significance, it'd be for important things coming my way, or prayers being answered. Okay, so that's what yellow would mean to me. It's also, by the way, the colour of looking at stages of development of us as we grow up. If we're going to talk about spring and the sun rising in the morning, we should also indicate that yellow could also be the colour of us, our life, when we're in that child phase. So if we're talking about healing that we would like to see happen from our childhood, this would be the colour I would use. Or if we're wanting to bring or welcome a child into the world, or ask Spirit maybe to gift our family with another child, this is the colour I would use, because it's significant of all those things. But listen, whatever yellow means to you, that might just mean happiness or celebration. You go with that as well, okay? So it's not just all about what I think, it's really also about the corresponding energies of the colours for you personally. So you can either take what I suggest on board, or you can scrap the whole lot. No matter what, your prayer flag is going to be just fantastic. So that's what I would suggest. For me personally, what I'd suggest was the colour yellow. Now, elementally in Australia, our sun moves across the sky in an anti-clockwise direction. Everything in the southern hemisphere rotates in the opposite direction in the northern hemisphere. Our water even flows down the sink in an opposite direction to the northern hemisphere. So elementally, our seasons also work in a different rotation than the northern hemisphere. Spring, we always suggest that's the indicator of the beginning of the year. But in the southern hemisphere, because our wheel works in an anti-clockwise motion, we don't go in a clockwise like in the northern hemisphere. So we go in an anti-clockwise, and the next element and the next celebration would be the season of summer, which comes after spring, obviously. But it's the hottest time of the year for us. It's when the fire is rife. Because Australia is located where it is, the northern part of Australia sits closest to the equator. So we see the north as being significantly hotter than the south, whereas in the northern hemisphere it would be the opposite, because the equator would be to the south of them. So in the northern hemisphere, the further south you go, the hotter it gets. Whereas here in Australia, the further north you travel, the hotter it gets. So on the wheel that I was talking about, that the rotation, the east, of course, is where we would place the yellow, and the north is where we'd place the red, because red represents fire. Yellow, in this case, represents the air element, the fresh breeze coming in off the ocean as the sun's rising, that crisp, fresh air that suggests new beginnings and welcomes new ideas. And when we're a child, for example, that time is just the most magical time, because we're just so unpolluted by adult thoughts and grown-up motivations and agendas and stuff. Anyway, so the fire element does represent the teenage years, as the yellow represents the child, but it's also, about passion and adventure and calculated risks and doing things that we might not normally do without that fire in the belly. So if that's the sort of thing that you're wanting, if you're wanting adventure, or you're wanting, change to happen in the most powerful and productive way possible, this is the colour I would use for those prayers. This is also a colour I would use when offering protection prayers for a teenager in my life, or when if I've got things that happened to me in my teenage years and I'm wanting to address those, those experiences or those emotions. I would offer prayer flags of red for that. Also, it's red is a colour of anger and fury and passion and all those sorts of things. So if we're trying to temper those emotions, or we're trying to invoke them or enhance them, again, red for those. Right, so around the wheel we go, and we're now in the west. So west is a significant place to be, the west, because, and it's really weird because I say in Australia the sun rises first and hits the land first in Byron Bay. So I like to think, what's the opposite to that? And I remember standing on Cottesloe Beach over in Western Australia at one point, and it was such an amazing experience to see the sun going down. What's that there? Is it like a bit of hair or something flickering? That's annoying me. Anyway, so I was standing in the west, in Perth, or in Western Australia, watching the sun go down on Cottesloe Beach, and it literally sank into the Indian Ocean. It was the most amazing experience, and it just made me feel so alive and so grateful. But if I'm going to stand there and offer prayers facing the west as the sun's going down, symbolically, watching the night sky roll in. So the night sky, which is the black, but in reality it's actually a really deep blue. So you can have, for these prayers, you could use black, you could use blue, you could use purple, any of those sort of colours you're likely to see as the sun's setting, but also the colours of the night sky, or the ocean itself as the moon's shining on that, shining down its blessings. I'll just take that away. I found it. My Virgo brain. Anyway, so if I'm going to offer prayers for this chapter of my life, I'd be looking at the chapter I'm in now, because I'm still a dad. I'm not a grandfather yet. I'm not old enough to be a teenager, which I was, but I'm not old enough to be a grandpa either yet. So I'm in the West, which is the phase we go through when we're questioning a lot of things. It's the adult phase. It's when we're a grown-up, and we're trying to be a grown-up, because being a grown-up's tricky. Even when you've been doing it for a little while, it never gets easier. So if I'm wanting to look at this chapter in my life, and I'm thinking about finances, or I'm thinking about career, or I'm thinking about health, I'm thinking all sorts of different things, I'd be writing those prayers onto these coloured fabrics. Again, you can use purple if you like, to surrender, to release. Because if you want to look at the yellow is spring, you want to see that red is the fire. Well, the blue would represent autumn now, or fall. So you're back to those leaves again, because that's the time of the year when the leaves are falling off the tree. And it's during this time that we're thinking, gosh, what's going on? What happened to all those those dreams that I had as a kid? What happened to all that? Where have I ended up? Like, how did I get here? So if you're having those sorts of thoughts, offer those prayers on this coloured fabric. Or if you're wanting to learn how to journey within, or listen to your own emotions, or find answers within your gut, or that journey within, like the bear going into the cave, you think about these colours when offering those prayers. Also, though, if you've got a child who's having trouble finding themselves, or who seems to be locked in their own mind, or who just can't communicate or express themselves without getting emotional or teary, because these are ruled by the water element. This is the air element, as I said earlier. This is the fire element. This is water elements. This is about the emotions. This is about meditation and contemplation and quiet time. So if you're needing support with any of those things, this is the colour to write those prayers on. Does that help, guys? I'm hoping I'm not over, confusing you. I'm just suggesting different ways to offer prayers and to reasons for creating prayer flags. Okay, so around the wheel we go even more, and the fourth element that we're going to talk about is the earth element, and that's that chapter of our life when we are the elder now. We're parents, but we're probably grandparents by this stage, symbolically, physically or symbolically. It's also that time when we're sitting and we're assessing what we've done, what we've achieved. Could we have done more? But it's all, and that's all great. But really, at the end of the day, when we get to this chapter of our life, we have to just assume that we've done enough. We have to be grateful for the effort we've put in. When we look into a mirror, we should be thinking, gosh, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of how far you've come. They're all the emotions and feelings that come with the earth element. But if you're wondering why I've got white fabric and why I've got green fabric, well, imagine, the further south we go, which is what it is on the wheel here, we end up hitting, you know, ice and snow, basically. Ice and snow. So winter is the element that's associated with the earth element. It's the season that's associated with that chapter of our life when our hair turns white. But it's also symbolic of that fear, if you like, that everything's done, everything's over. Because when you think about the earth covered in snow, you don't assume that underneath life still exists. You see the earth has been covered, blanketed with snow, and everything's frozen, everything's dormant, everything's gone to sleep, because all the bears and the animals that go into hibernation, they're well and truly, doing their thing under the ground. All the plants have gone dormant, their root systems are still active though. So imagine life feeling as if it's gone, it's done. Winter basically in the early days was very, very likely that things would die in the winter. So it was a time of death, and it was a time of journeying deep within and going back to the earth and returning to the earth, knowing that in the spring, of course, when the sun comes up, the flowers will start to bloom, the snow will melt, and life will return. So this is like a waiting time. It's a dormant time, and it's a time when we offer gratitude and thanks. It's also a time when we acknowledge all our investments, and we talk about how we can make those investments grow more. It's when all the crops have been brought in from the fields and are now stored in the sheds. So it's a time of dormancy, rest, recuperation, peace, but also regeneration and rebirth, because not long after the snow has melted, the green grass returns. So you can choose to use either of these colours. Depends on where you're at. But I like to combine them both, because I think we all go through that time of dormancy, and we all welcome and celebrate the beginnings again with new life. So they're the colours, guys. How do we join them together? How do we turn them into flags? Well, there's lots of different ways. Soon I'm going to, we've done a little video where Trudy, my wife, has sewn, this shows you how to sew the prayer flags together, but there's several different techniques or different ways, if you don't have a sewing machine, that I can show you. So just by folding the edges over like that, and even with the hand thread, if you just stitched along here and created like this little channel, you could thread string through there, and they would hang very nicely on the strand and billow beautifully in the breeze. If you don't want to be sewing at all, you could easily just get a needle, thread, and just in and out, in and out, in and out, and thread it through so that they're all attached together on the one thread. But as I said, if you're not interested in sewing, you could even glue, use glue to secure the twine that you're using to hang it up in the trees. You could secure your prayer flags to it with using glue, or just staples. I know that sounds very, I don't know, modern, but at the same time, seriously, if you've got prayers that need offering, Spirit doesn't mind how you do it. Okay, so you just use the resources you have at your disposal, and you can't go wrong. This is embroidery thread. Now, embroidery thread is cheap, it's easy, but it's also thick enough that it's going to be strong enough to hold the prayer flags, but also not so strong that it's going to take ages and ages and ages for the elements to do their work, for the flags to fall. This is regular red twine, which I just got from a general store, and this is hemp twine. Hemp twine I love because it's so strong, but it's also just feels lovely. It's got a really good feel to it. I like using hemp twine. Entirely up to you, or you can just use regular sewing cotton, which is what we've done in the video to show you how to sew. Trudy sewed them on the sewing machine so that they're bound together with regular sewing thread. Alright, but before we even do that, how about we consider what we're going to, how we're going to put our messages. It's quite okay just to hold the fabric and to offer a prayer, and just with intent hold the fabric and offer your prayer. Spirit hears your prayers, the fabric becomes imbued in those prayers. And this is particularly significant if you live with other people, or you want to hang your prayer flags in a semi-public place and you don't want people reading them. You can imbue the prayer by just offering the prayer with the spoken word, or just a silent prayer while holding the fabric. Or you can get your black permanent marker, and maybe you can write a prayer on on the flag, or you can draw a symbol. So for example, just say I want to bring in the energy of new beginnings. I could simply just draw the symbol of a sun. I put a little smiley face just to give it a bit of humour. See, that's, think about, what does that symbol mean for you, the sun? It can mean a plethora of different things. So Spirit knows exactly the reason why you've offered that symbol, but no one else who sees this is going to know what that means, because this is your prayer. Another one you could try is a just simple love heart, because that can mean peace, that can mean happiness, that can be an intention that you're bringing into your own life. It can be just blessings for, for anyone who walks past. So they don't have to be obvious, they don't have to be, terribly detailed, or you don't have to be an artist. Okay, but the most important thing is, after you've made your prayer flags, is don't forget to smudge them. So here's a smudge wand that I've got. I would light the end of this. Oh, there's a match stuck on the end. Yes, you can just light the end and just let the smoke billow, and just wave it about the items that you're using. Smudge yourself, and just know that that's pretty much all you need to do to wrap things up. But I always offer a prayer. I always smudge when I've created something that is significant or sacred, or that holds a greater significance or carries intent. Does that make sense? So you can't go wrong, guys, seriously. Alright, so I'm going to stop now, and I'm going to let Trudy show you how the prayer flags can be tied together. And then, not when I say tied together, secured to the twine, she's going to show you how she would sew them together, or how she does sew them together. And then after that, we'll see them hanging in the tree out in the garden again. So if you have any questions, you know where to find me. But that's it. So enjoy your experience, and enjoy the making of your prayer flags. And you know what? Share this video with other people, or teach them how to make prayer flags, because at this time, most importantly, the world needs some extra blessings. The world needs some love and peace. The world needs intent, good intent, positive intent being sent out into the world, and this is one such way to make that happen. Enjoy yourself, guys, and I'll speak to you real soon. So guys, I hope you enjoyed making your prayer flags. And as you can see, I just chose a tree in our backyard and suspended them in the tree. Not particularly because they'll look nice or the angle or anything like that. It's more so they can catch the wind. So if you've got somewhere in your place that you know that your prayer flags would do best, hang them there. But if you have got a place like you don't have a tree or something to suspend it from, just from your balcony railing even would be just fine. You know, so don't stress. Don't worry about, oh my gosh, I don't have a beautiful tree to suspend my prayer flags in. It makes no difference ultimately, because after all, this is between you and Great Spirit and no one else. So Spirit hears your prayers. They know exactly what it is you're looking for long before you even made the prayer flags. But this is also a little bit of reassurance for you, because the story is when the prayer flags fall, when the wind and the elements and everything else work their magic and the prayer flags fall, the story is that that's a sign that your blessings have been shared and the prayers have been heard and everything has been done according to plan. And it's just a matter of waiting then for things to change. All right, so don't panic if they fall down. Don't race out and think I must put them back up, because they're done. Their job is done. So be prepared for that happy day when it does arrive. Anyway, have any questions, you know where to find me. I just thought you might enjoy creating your own prayer flags, and I certainly hope that you've enjoyed the experience. Thanks heaps, guys. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.